All right, so today we're going to do a little bit of bell work about area and circumference. We have four circles with four different numbers in there, three of which are written as radiuses, and then we have one diameter. So we'll just kind of set these up. The area of the first one would be 3.14 times 3 squared. The circumference would be 3.14 times the diameter, which is 6. And on the next one, we would have an area of 3.14 times 7 squared. And then the circumference would be 3.14 times the diameter, which in this case would be 14. Okay, hopefully we're seeing enough of these. They're starting to look easier. So the area of the third one would be 3.14 times the radius squared, and the radius is 10, so that would be 10 squared. And the circumference is 3.14 times 6. Or excuse me, times 20, which is the radius square, or radius times 2. So 10 times 2 is 20. And on the last one, 3.14 times 8 squared. Excuse me, you have to do the radius. So you divide 8 by 4, or 8 by 2, and you get 4. So 3.14 times 4 squared. And then the diameter is 8. We do need that for circumference, so 3.14 times 8. All right, so there's how you'd set up all four to get the area and the circumference. Now we're going to go ahead and grab a calculator real quick, and we'll just do the first couple of problems to make sure we know how to do these calculations. So the first one, 3.14 times 3 to the second, which would be 3.14 times 9. So that's going to give us a number, well, 9 times 3 would be 27. So it's going to be a little over 27. It's going to be 28.26. Okay, and then on the circumference, we've got 3.14 times 6. And 6 times 3 would be 18. So this is going to be a little more than 18 by the time we get all of that multiplied out. So 18.84. So that would be our two numbers for that one. Now, rather than doing the others, let's go ahead and get on with what we're talking about today. I want you to remember from 7th grade that when you were finding the volume of what we call a rectangular prism, all you had to do is multiply the length times the width times the height. And when we did the length times the width, that's basically finding the area of the bottom of the prism, length times width. So, and then once you find the area of that bottom, then you multiply it by how tall it is, and you get the volume. So length times width times height. And so we're going to try a couple. So here we got 4 times 4. So the bottom would be 16, and then 16 times 4 would give us our full volume of the entire shape. So 16 times 4 is 64 centimeters cubed. Okay, on the next one, we got 2 times 3 times 6. And 2 times 3 is 6. 6 times 6 is 36. So I got 36 centimeters cubed. That's the volume of that one and the volume of that one. Okay, next. Company makes wax candles shaped like a rectangular prism. Each candle is 5 centimeters long, 2 centimeters wide, and 12 centimeters tall. Okay, so we're going to use that information to find out how much volume each candle takes. Okay, so we got 5 times 2 times 12. And 5 times 2 is 10. 10 times 12 is 120 centimeters cubed. That's how much each candle takes to make. Now, if the company has 5,040 centimeters cubed of wax, how many candles can they make with that amount? So you're going to do 50-40 divided by 120. And 50-40 divided by 120 is equal to, I have my calculator, do the calculation. Unfortunately, my calculator will not show up on my screen when I'm doing the sound recording. So you're going to get the number though, and so that would be 42 candles. And hopefully that you can sell those candles for quite a bit, because that's not a lot of candles, is it? So 42 candles. Very good. Okay, let's try another one. A company makes concrete bricks shaped like rectangular prisms. Each brick is 10 inches long and 7 inches wide and 5 inches tall. So 10 times 7 times 5. 10 times 7 is 70, and 70 times 5 will give us a volume of 350 inches cubed. And if they have 14,000 cubic inches of concrete, and we need to find out how many bricks they can make, we just do 14,000 divided by 350. So you get 14,000 divided by 350, and you end up with 40 concrete bricks. These must be the great big concrete bricks that you would use to stack along a wall where you might be building a driveway or something to keep the dirt from falling in onto your driveway. They got to be big bricks. Okay, so that's kind of the idea there. Now, when we move to the volume of a cylinder, we kind of keep the same idea in mind here. Volume is pi r squared times the height. And if you remember, r squared, pi r squared is the formula for the area of a circle. So we're finding the area of the circular base. So 3.14 times 5 squared. That's the area of the bottom, or in this case, the top. Doesn't matter. And then you times it by the height, just like we did on the rectangular prism. Area of the base times how tall it is. And so if you do that, 3.14 times 5 squared times 12, we get an answer of approximately 942 centimeters cubed. Okay, that's not too bad. Let's try another one. In this case, the volume is going to be the 3.14 times we need the radius, which in this case is 4. So 4 squared times the height, and the height in this case is 8. So 3.14, 4 squared is 16, and then we have a height of 8. So 3.14 times 16 times 8, and our answer is approximately 402.1 cubic inches in that particular cylinder. So these aren't too bad, are they? I think that's very doable if you'll remember the formula. Okay, now in this particular problem, they actually give us the volume, and they want us to find the height of the cylinder. So I'm setting it up. So 3.14 times 5 squared. And at this point, I recognize that they haven't given us the height yet. So I've got to fill in for that V over there, that volume. I've got to fill in 3.1 or 314. So that's So we insert 314 in for volume. So 314 equals 3.14 times 25, which is 5 times 5. And all of that is times by height. So now we're going to do a division here. We've got 3.14 times 25. And when we do that calculation on our calculator and come back with a number, we will have 78.5H equals 314. So then we're going to divide both sides by 78.5. And this will give us the height of our cylinder, 78.5. So what we're learning here is that if we have enough information and we know what the formula is for the volume of a cylinder, we can figure this out. We can find different dimensions depending on what they give us. So in this case, we actually found height because they gave us the volume. Okay? So in this one, they want to know the height as well. So looking for the height of that cylinder, round your answer to the nearest whole number. So we know the volume. The volume is 176, and that equals 3.14 times the radius squared, so 4 squared, times the height of the cylinder. So then we need to do 176, and we're going to divide it by whatever 3.14 times 4 squared, which is 16. And then we have to divide the left side by the numbers next to H there. And so when we do our calculation, we end up with these numbers. It's 176. And then we're going to equals 50.14. And then we have to divide both sides by 50.14 to get our final answer for the height. So divide by 50.14. I'm going through this kind of slow. I don't want to go too fast for you to make sure that you can get it. But when you divide that, you end up with a number that is approximately 3.5. Okay. All right, so what do we do next? So we have another cylinder problem. Looks like that. We'll skip that one. Yet another one that's very similar looking. We'll skip that. Now here's one that might be a little more interesting. How much salsa is missing from the jar? So you'll notice that we've got kind of a dual problem here. So we need to find the volume of the full jar. So the volume of the full jar would be 3.14, 3.14 times the radius squared, which is 5 squared, times the height of a full jar, which is 10. Okay, and then we're going to subtract from that the height of what's left in the jar, so that's 3.14 times 4 squared, or 5 squared times 4, sorry, the radius squared times 4. So we're going to subtract those two amounts, and that will give us our how much salsa is missing from the jar. It didn't ask how much is left in the jar, it asked how much is missing. So when we do this, and I kind of got in a hurry and make a little mistake here. See if you can catch my mistake. So I assume that the 3.14 times 5 squared will cancel each other out. And I just do 10 minus 4, which is 6. Is that my answer? 6 centimeters cubed? Well, I don't know. Let's check the answer, see what we get. If we actually check the answer, wait, I got 471 cubic centimeters. Something's not right here. So on this problem, we got to go back to work a little bit. Rather than just subtracting the 10 minus 4, we got to bring down the 3.14 and the 5 squared. And we still have to multiply by that before we can call this problem complete. So let's go ahead back in there and put those numbers in. So you're going to have 3.14 times 5 squared times 6 centimeters cubed. And that will give us the numbers we're looking for. So here we go. So 3.14 well, actually, I multiply them out individually. So the first one would be 785. The second one would be 314. And so when you subtract 785 and 314, you indeed get 471. Okay? And that's the number we're looking for. So what do I do with what I started with? Well, I needed to multiply by 3.14 times 5 squared. I did something was mathematically a little improper, so I'm going back to fix that. And when I multiply them both together, I do and indeed end up with 471 cubic centimeters. All right, so you can solve a problem like that. And some of these problems might come in handy when you're trying to find the volume of a jar full of jelly beans or something and estimate the number of jelly beans in a jar. Okay, so we could give you some word problems like this where you're trying to find the volume of a cylinder of a big tank or a water tank. So good luck with that and see what you can come up with. And the assignment's on Alex.